The winter sky over New York City was a heavy shade of gray, pressing down on the brick buildings. Inside a small, shabby flat, the mood wasn't much brighter, though it was warmed by a fierce, defiant love. Della Young sat at a wobbly table, staring at a meager pile of coins. She counted them again, her fingers trembling slightly. $1.87. That was all. And 60 cents of it was in pennies. She counted it a third time, hoping she'd made a mistake. But no, the sum remained exactly $1.87, and tomorrow was Christmas. There was clearly nothing to do but flop down on the shabby little couch and howl, which Della did. For months, she had saved every single cent she could, haggling with the grocer and the butcher until her cheeks burned with embarrassment. She'd saved penny by penny, all for this moment. She wanted to buy something for Jim Maher. Jim something fine and rare. Something worthy of being owned by him. Their home was a furnished flat for $8 a week. It wasn't grand. The mailbox wouldn't accept letters, and the doorbell button was broken. The name on the door read Mr. James Dillingham Young. The Dillingham part was a holdover from a time of prosperity when he earned $30 a week. Now, with his income shrunk to $20, they were thinking of shortening it to just D. But whenever Mr. James Dillingham Young came home, it was simply Jim, and was greatly hugged by Mrs. James Dillingham Young, whom you now know as Della. Della finished her cry and powdered her cheeks. She stood by the window, watching a gray cat on a gray fence in a gray backyard. Tomorrow was Christmas, and she had only $1.87 to buy Jim a present. She'd spent so many happy hours planning something wonderful for him. Reality was harsh. She turned from the window and stood before the narrow mirror. Suddenly, her eyes shone brilliantly. She pulled down her hair and let it fall to its full length. Now, the James Dillingham Youngs had two possessions they were immensely proud of. One was Jim's gold watch, passed down from his father and grandfather. The other was Della's hair. It was a rippling, shining cascade of brown that fell below her knees, almost like a garment. Had King Solomon been the janitor, Jim would have pulled out his watch every time he passed, just to see the king pluck his beard in envy. So now Della's beautiful hair fell about her, shining like a cascade of brown waters. She did it up again, nervously and quickly. She paused for a moment as a tear splashed onto the worn red carpet. She knew what she had to do. It felt like tearing away a part of her soul, but the thought of Jim with no gift on Christmas was far more painful. She put on her old brown jacket and hat. With a whirl of her skirts and a brilliant sparkle still in her eyes, she fluttered out the door and down to the street. She stopped at a sign that read, Madame Sofroni. Hair goods of all kinds. Della ran up the flight of stairs, panting. Madame la Gentile hardly looked like a Sofroni. Will you buy my hair? Della asked. I buy hair, said Madame. Take your hat off, and let's have a look. Dan rippled the brown cascade. Madame's cold, professional hand lifted the mass, feeling its weight and texture not as beauty, but as merchandise. $20, she said. Give it to me quick, said Della. The scissors flashed. Snip, snip, snip. The glory of the Dillingham Youngs lay in a pile on the floor. Della didn't look back. She took the money, feeling a strange mix of lightness and loss. The next 2 hours flew by. She ransacked the stores for Jim's present, and she found it. It had surely been made for Jim and no one else. It was a platinum fob chain, simple and elegant. Its value came from its substance, not flashy decoration, just like all good things. It was even worthy of the watch. As soon as she saw it, she knew it had to be Jim's. It was like him. Quietness and value. Jim's watch was magnificent, but he often checked it secretly because he was ashamed of the old leather strap he used instead of a chain. With this platinum chain, he could check the time boldly in any company. It cost $21. Della paid with a shaky hand and hurried home with the 87 cents that remained. She felt invincible. She had done it. She had secured the perfect gift. When Della got home, her excitement gave way a little to caution. She looked at her reflection. The close-cropped curls made her look wonderfully like a truant schoolboy. If Jim doesn't kill me, she said to herself, he'll say I look like a chorus girl. But what could I do with $1.87? She got out her curling irons and went to work, trying to repair the damage done by generosity and love. By 7 o'clock, the coffee was made, and the frying pan was hot, ready for the chops. Jim was never late. Della held the fob chain in her hand and sat near the door. Then she heard his step on the stair, and she turned white for a moment. She whispered a little prayer. Please, God, make him think I am still pretty. The door opened and Jim stepped in. He looked thin and very serious. Poor fellow, only 22 and already burdened with a family. He needed a new coat and gloves. Jim stopped just inside the door, motionless. His eyes were fixed on Della, with an expression she couldn't read. It terrified her. It wasn't anger, or surprise, or disapproval. He just stared at her with that peculiar look. Della slipped off the table and went to him. Jim! Darling! She cried. Don't look at me that way! I had my hair cut off and sold it because I could live through Christmas without giving you a present. It'll grow out again, ya won't mind, will ya? Say Merry Christmas, Jim, and let's be happy. You don't know what a beautiful, nice gift I've got for you. You've cut off your hair, he asked, as if the fact hadn't quite registered. Cut it off and sold it, Della said. Don't you like me just as well? I'm me without my hair, aren't I? Jim looked around the room curiously. You say your hair is gone? He asked, almost idiotically. You needn't look for it, said Della. It's sold, I tell yous, old and gone. It's Christmas Eve. Be good to me, for it went for you. Maybe the hairs of my head were numbered, she went on with a sudden sweet seriousness, but nobody could ever count my love for you. Shall I put the chops on, Jim? Jim seemed to wake from his trance and enfolded Della in his arms. He drew a package from his overcoat pocket and threw it on the table. Don't make any mistake, Dell, he said. There is nothing in the way of a haircut that could make me like my girl any less. But if you'll unwrap that package, you may see why you had me going a while at first. Her nimble fingers tore at the string and paper, an ecstatic scream of joy, and then a quick change to hysterical tears. For there lay the set of combs, pure tortoiseshell with jeweled rims, that Della had long worshipped in a Broadway window. They were expensive combs, she knew, and her heart had yearned for them without any hope of ever owning them. And now they were hers, but the beautiful hair that should have worn them was gone. But she hugged them to her chest, and at last she looked up with a smile and said, My hair grows so fast, Jim. And then Della leaped up. Oh, Jim hadn't seen his beautiful present yet. She held it out to him eagerly. The dull precious metal seemed to flash with a reflection of her bright and ardent spirit. Isn't it a dandy? Jim Y hunted all over town to find it. You'll have to look at the time 100 times a day now. Give me your watch. I want to see how it looks on it. Instead of obeying, Jim tumbled down on the couch, put his hands behind his head, and smiled. Dell, he said, let's put our Christmas presents away and keep them a while. They're too nice to use, just a present. I sold the watch to get the money to buy your combs. Della sat down, stunned, the platinum chain still in her hand. The watch for the chain was gone. The hair for the combs was gone. And now, Jim said, suppose you put the chops on. The Magi, as you know, were wise men who brought gifts to the babe in the manger. They invented the art of giving Christmas presents. Being wise, their gifts were no doubt wise ones. And here I have told you the story of two foolish children who most unwisely sacrificed for each other the greatest treasures of their house. But let it be said to the wise of our day, of all who give gifts, these two were the wisest. Of all who give and receive gifts, they are the wisest. Everywhere they are wisest. They gave not just objects, but parts of themselves. They sacrificed their pride and their most prized possessions to bring a smile to the other. That is the ultimate wisdom of love. They are the Magi. Thanks for watching.